We started talking about the romance system last time. You missed out. But you haven't, because we're going to talk about it again now. Also, just so everyone knows, I'm going to just let you know, follow me on YouTube if you're not already, guys, because if anything ever happens to Twitch, say I randomly got banned one day, or Twitch just died and disappeared out of thin air, this is the place I'll be on. So I'm also organising everything into playlists. Every single stream we've ever had is I'm actually retitling everything so that it's specific to something that was talked about in the stream, and organising them into categories so it's all easier to kind of find specific streams. So, if you ever miss streams or you want to get caught up on what we've been doing in the project, then this is really the place to be as well. So feel free to sub if you haven't already on YouTube. And I'll cross that off now. Now into the next bit, romance system. But it isn't just a romance system, it's also a friendship affinity kind of system as well. Romance is just kind of the highest, level of this affinity system, but only certain characters will be romanceable. Everybody could probably fall under the friendship category, and obviously the other two as well, but certain characters will also fall under these two. And the reason there is what two and not just one romance in general is because we can't have everybody be a deep gradual love story, because it would be a lot of hard work, and I'm only one person. I'm trying my best to not spread myself too thin and put too much on myself in regards to the project or anything else as well. For example, I've kind of decided I'm going on a mini hiatus from Twitter. I'm not going to be off altogether. You might still see special tweets pop up on there, so don't unfollow me. When the Steam page gets announced, for example, I'll soon be tweeting that. But I'm not going to be on there as much, because I'm finding with Twitter, it's not really benefiting the project or growing the our little community fan base. So I'm not gonna waste energy on something that I've been trying to do for months and months but hasn't changed, because it's a time consuming thing, social media is. So I'm kind of just gonna put that on the side, but only tweet if there's something really cool to talk about. I'm gonna put my energy into the actual game for the time being, rather than all the Twitter stuff and all that kind of thing, because it can be a bit of a waste of time. Don't get me wrong, it can greatly benefit. Kind of getting you the word out, spreading the word on your thing is so important. But I feel like that sort of thing can come after for us once we've got a playable build out, Twitter is rough. You absolutely deserve a reprieve. Yeah, I've just found it's fun tweeting, but I have been putting a lot of effort into Twitter, but tweeting every single stream out, for example, that we do, but it's not really paying off. So that's really why I haven't gone all out with Instagram either, because I kind of am like, well, will it really pay off? Will it? But yes, I'm not abandoning it altogether. I'll probably go back into the social media promo stuff again eventually at some point. I'm intending to do lots of screenshot Saturdays, for example, once we got a first playable build out and there's plenty of content to show off. But obviously, I did do screenshot Saturday for a while, a few months back, but then we kind of ran out of content. But that will for sure be a regular thing once the content builds up, and things like that might be more valuable to just do on a Saturday or something. If you use TweetDeck, you can schedule tweets such as stream notifications. Just a thought. Oh, what do you mean scheduling tweets? I'm a right noob, to be honest, when it comes to... But I just find it such a time sucker in general. Social media, and even being on there is very draining as well. You know, and obviously if you're posting on there, you're also on there reading what others are saying. Some of the stuff that's been on there lately has been very draining for me to have to read. So I'm going to try and keep it to a minimum. Like I said, you might see me tweet now and again, but it won't be as often as it has been. But I know for sure the energy needs to get put into the game right now, because we're not even going to get purple build in time. So, yes. Okay. So, as I was saying, yes. Casual flirt or deep, slow burning love. There'll probably be, I don't know the number yet, that'll be the number one. The deep love. But it's not going to be absolutely tons. That's all I'll say. It's not going to be like barely any. Like, it will definitely be more than a handful. But it's not going to be like, don't expect dozens in number one category. I'm kind of seeing it as the main characters, the ones that end up being really key to the overall story, that, you know, are with us for the majority of the journey, such as Carol Barrel, because she's with us for the majority of the journey, so she naturally falls into the number one category. But for any NPCs or characters that, you know, are only in it for a short period, or just living in a single town, then it'll probably be more of that one. So yes, this is how it's going to go, and we've even confirmed some of the romanceable options. We've only got a list of the ones that we know will be romanceable so far, but over time it will probably get more. For them to post, write them up Saturday, Sunday and set them across for a week. Yeah, that's an idea too, Asriel, except I don't even have the time to do that. I'm really in a position, folks, that I have to be really, really careful with my time, because I am spreading myself thin, and we don't want that, do we? Because that's when the burnout happens. So if anything's going to burn me out, it would be the Twitter, because I don't particularly enjoy tweeting. But the actual games side of things always gives me the energy. So that's what I'm going to focus on for now. And all right, so Carol, we got what gender the romance here, whether they're going to be hard or easy to get, and there's also personality to decide as well. But that's, you know, we don't have to figure it all out yet for everybody. This is really just a rough outline, because people have been intrigued by how it's going to work, and we haven't really discussed it all, how it's going to work. So yeah. And Violet, if you're thinking who the hell's Violet is Raya's. She's been renamed. So everything, oops, you've seen spoilers, you've seen the new Nigel assets. Yeah, Violet has been renamed everywhere now. Well, Rose has been renamed everywhere, should I say. So everywhere you look, if you look on the Lore Bible, you'll see that the name is being changed. If anyone ever spots Rose anywhere, let me know and I'll change it, because who knows, there might be somewhere I've missed, but I think I've done everywhere. Zexy, is that you? I'm really confused, because we've got another Zexy in chat and they have totally faked the I in first with an L, and their account was created 11 hours ago. Zexy, what the hell is going on? Is that you on another account? Long story. I literally, I was really like, oh my god, is someone catfishing Zexy? I was like that at first when I saw that. Just imagine. So I did that. I had to, so yeah, okay. So something also to remember is that because you're doing so many separate episodes and characters are going to be introduced in staggering intervals, hard caps on maximums aren't useful. Maybe have the limit be 1 or 2 new deep romances per episode. Think about it as per episode instead of total. That's true as well, because really, Raindrop Chronicles, each episode is its own individual game now at this point. I feel like the way we're going as well, episode 1 is going to be, it's not exactly going to be something you can complete like in an hour or something. It's going to have like its own main quest arc in itself. So they are full games within themselves. So it's probably easier in general to do that and think of it, of Roots and Rumours as an actual game itself, rather than just part of one game. Because Raindrop Chronicles is a series now, not a game. Raindrop Chronicles is a series, and Roots and Rumours is the first game. So yes. When it comes to the whole, your way your mind works, it works Exy. It's very like organised and well thought out. My mind tends to be a big jumble. I like how your mind thinks, because you think in advance, and that's good. Whereas I'm one of these people that I think of an idea and it's all like this. And then when I finally get down to implementing, I realise that it's actually complex, and then have to kind of smooth it over and organise it then after. But it's good to think, I think it's good to definitely think like that first sometimes, because then you don't get any nasty surprises creep up on you, and then you're like, oh no, we can't have it as we wanted. Final Fantasy XIV is going to have the Starlight Celebration soon, and one of the items given out is going to be a snowman mount. Can I see pictures of it? I want to see pictures of a snowman mount. That sounds adorable. That's my thought process exactly, yeah. So, I mean, I do like to get imaginative and not feel limited, I guess. So that's why I kind of don't mind in a way that my mind's like that, because I can get super creative, but creative. Gosh, I can't get my words out. But at the same time, you know, you don't want to always get your hopes up either and think, oh no, we gotta redo that system or remove it altogether because it's way too complex. Oh yes, let's get that up in a. Ah, look at that. Snowman. Yeah, I want to play Final Fantasy XIV again, but Cyberpunk's out now, basically, so. Are you tempted to get Cyberpunk, Van? Okay, so we'll see this very simply for now, of course. Like, we're not going to be adding, like, when this romance feature gets implemented properly and stuff, it's probably going to be a later point in the development of episode 1. I don't know who's noticed this, but I've put in brackets the plan. So as a lot of you know, the very first build's going to literally just have main quest 1 and 2. Very, very simple though. No additional features or things. So there's not going to really be any fancy features going on. The menus are going to be basic. There's not going to be any NPCs except the ones that are actually in the quests. I'm kind of seeing it as do all the main quest first and build on the features afterwards. But I have put NPCs for the second playable build, because I would like to start populating Lakefall with the NPCs, especially because I think main quest 3 is very much going to be the Lakefall centric quest. We'll be returning to Lakefall in that quest, and we'll be sort of getting prepared for the cave adventures following that. So I think if any time is going to be a really good time to implement the NPCs in the village and bring like fall to life, it would be then. I mean, I'd love to do it now, but it would just delay the first playable build release if we did it now. So, and then the cave area is coming when we actually go to the caves, which would be around the main quest 4 time. And then I've kind of put here side quests and features, so it's kind of like we'll be building on what the main quest and adding all the fancy stuff then. So that would be anything like we say, the romance system, really just making sure everything's working properly, and if we wanted to introduce anything like hunts or collectibles or anything like that, that would all be done then too. But it is good to think in advance and have a plan. But yes, that's kind of how we'll do it. So, will the first build have a combat system as well, or are you focusing more on the narrative aspects? It will, because the first and second main quest features battles. I mean, the fruit fight at the end of main quest 2 being one of them. So it really, I mean, it wouldn't be impossible to release the first playable build as just the story without the battles. We could just kind of have some pop up saying boss coming up, but it would be it obviously won't be complete. But what I'm intending to do is focus on the enemy battle and skill section more come January, or early January, once we've implemented the dialogue and scene work. So because we're not releasing the third playable build till spring is the aim, so we've got a few months at the start of next year to get the battle stuff integrated within the scenes. Because what ideally I'd like main quest 1 and 2 to be almost, basically complete for the first playable build, so that they're as they should be. And then main quest 3, main quest 4, main quest 5 and 6 will come following those. And by this point, when this build is out, all the main quests will be there really to play through, and it'd literally just be side quests added on top and any extra details in the world and features on top of that after. And I guess the reason why I want to do it like that is just so I don't have to deal with everything at once, and there's a sort of comfort in the thought of getting the main quest out the way and get it done first, because that really is the priority, right? The actual overarching main story. Side quests and features are literally just the juicy stuff and bonuses on top of the main quest. So, it's going to feel like, that's a relief that the main quest is done, and then I can solely focus on just filling the game out more and making it more full at that point. Because otherwise, if it's like bit of main quest here, bit of side quest there, bit of feature stuff there, it's going to just all be like, do you know what I mean? RPGs are very, very overwhelming itself because they're so huge. So breaking it up like that just takes the weight off significantly. Tempted, but more into fantasy games, yeah, I get that, but I'm a fantasy and sci-fi lover, so I don't have that issue, because I tend to love both genres. But I can understand, because there's definitely genres out there that I'm not as in love with, and it's made me avoid games in the past. Like modern day setting, I don't know if I'm as quite into that as fantasy or sci-fi. Contemporary stuff, for example. But, a good story can be written in any genre, right? Or a good game can be made in any genre. Hi, Andy Cake, how are things going? It's so good to see you. This is so neato. I'm mad I just found you. Hi, Pepper Cat, how you doing? Welcome to the stream. Thank you for the kind words. And I compartmentise very quickly, but the downside is that it can make it hard for me to change my point of perspective. Yeah, we've all got flaws. All of us have. And having the combat system in an early build helps you beta test it and get feedback from player, and you can adjust it, patch it in yes. So that's kind of what I thought. Like when I do release the first playable build, I haven't exactly thought about how that's going to work yet in terms of who's going to have it, or if it's going to be just given out freely, or if I'm going to limit it, or even if it's going to be on Patreon, or if it's going to be just free or whatever. I haven't actually properly considered that yet, because I definitely would like to have some alpha testers, of course. That's very desirable to have that, because you need that feedback to make sure the game's going okay. So I'll obviously let you know when things run, but when I get more of an idea. But that's exactly it. I'd probably make a Google form where anyone that did test the game could answer questions that I put in, such as I'd ask things like, battle system thoughts, were the characters believable to you, who was your favourite character, who was your least favourite character. So there'll be a mixture of questions to do with the story aspect of things and the battle aspect of things, to ask if it was fun or if there was anything that needs reworking and all that sort of thing, and if you found any bugs, of course, as well. So I think that'll be very valuable, because then while I'm working on version 0.2, which is of course the main quest 3 and NPC part, I'll be like smoothing over any flaws with version 1.1 as well. So I'll probably be releasing version 0.1.1 and 0, I can't even say, the numbers are jumbled in mind, but there'll be basically other builds of this as well that are like fixes of any problems too. So and clone yourself 50 times, give your clones a copy, have your clones stream their copy. Yeah, I wish I could. If we were living in the future, that would be what I'd do. I'd be like, you do that rose can do that task, this rose can do that one. I totally wouldn't feel like it was slave labour, totally not. Okay, so I'm being like trying to make sure I keep myself very as little as not as underwhelmed as possible. Is that a right word? Basically, to avoid getting overwhelmed during this whole game making process. And because I'm going to admit something, folks, the first 200 streams didn't go as smoothly as they should have in regards to development, but I don't blame myself, because I was inexperienced, learning, new to the whole thing. Raindrop Chronicles originally in the early streams was very different to the project it is now, so there's been a real, it's evolved quite a bit, and so things have changed and along the way. So really, the first 200 streams were just a big experiment, and I overall found that I made mistakes. One of the mistakes was that I did lots of bits. Bit of story there, bit of mapping there, bit of battle system there, bit of just about 10 different tasks. All like I kept switching between say story, battle, sounds, menus, balancing. It was just something every day, which I guess I just wanted to switch things up a lot back then to keep it fun. But I found I just started thinking, wow, I don't even know where I am. It's all a big mess. The project file was all over the place. The battles were messy. The cutscenes. I mean, I was actually pretty proud of my cutscenes. I'm quite pleased with them, but it wasn't. It was all a bit clunky, and I don't think the parallax mapping helped. Ever since I started parallax mapping, it just became a mess. So I'm glad we're back to tiles now. Reason it was a mess was because, the fact is we with parallax mapping, once you've done the assets, once you've done that map, it's got to be like it forever. Unlike tiles, you can update the tiles. If, say, you think, I want a different cliff asset, or I want a different tree asset, you can just open up the tile sheet, change the asset, and voila, updated immediately. The tiles will just update. But with the parallax mapping, because it's all like just a big PNG file or whatever, you know, the work involved with changing the assets is insane. Like, if I updated the trees, that would mean every single tree I'd have to manually update on every single map. Like the flowers, every single flower would have to have got updated. Unlike with tiles, if I wanted to upgrade the flowers or change them, easy, just put them on the tile sets and they've just updated. So that is just a real reason why, to me, tile sets are better, because the assets aren't set in stone, folks. I don't know what I'm going to change. Like, we're in a pre-alpha build. These aren't necessarily the final look completely of what it's going to be. Things will be changing throughout until we get to the beta build, right? So Rose doesn't blame herself, she blames me. She isn't angry, just disappointed. I'm a bad influence. But yeah, Raindrop Chronicles was very different back at the start, because back then I was just happy for it to be an RPG Maker game that was just fun and free to play. And I wasn't ambitious or I was like, these assets will do. We're not going to upgrade them. They're not going to change. This is just how it is. Because my mindset was very casual back then about the whole thing. But as the months have gone on, I'm like, you know, I can totally see myself updating these assets, you know, in the future if I was to get certain tile bits commissioned or whatever. Yeah, totally I would. So I need to obviously not have parallax maps, because that would be right paid to update. So and I'm okay, about to work and about to look into a newer apartment. Oh, a new apartment, Hypo. I hope you get a nice one, Andy Cake. But yeah, so basically you learn a lot as you're a developer. You learn a real lot. And it's all very interesting. I found it really interesting watching it back through my old VODs and seeing the sort of things I'd say back then and thinking, wow, I think so differently now. At one point, I basically said that Raindrop Chronicles was no way going to be on Steam. I basically laughed at the idea and was like, this game's not going to be on Steam, and you know, and we're on Steam because we got the page, so it's going to be on Steam. And Azrael convinced me to commit arson, murder and shudders. He even got me to jaywalk. He's a menace. I've jaywalked before, not gonna lie, I'm a criminal. I accidentally nearly did jaywalk when I was in the States because I didn't know it was a crime. Because it isn't in Britain. We found a really nice one, bigger and open space, just amazing. That's amazing, Andy Cake. Super happy for you. Hi Fur, how you doing? Welcome to the stream. Welcome. So yeah, I'm doing a bit of rambling on about the thing. So, you know, this is how it's going to go, a bit at a time. But yes, expect us to go into the battle side of things come the new year. Maybe not immediately in the new year. We might need to still do some scene work for the first bit of January, maybe, because there's still quite a bit to do there. But it won't be long until we start overhauling how things work in regards to the battle system, because things will be changing in regards to the battle system, which I have briefly talked about in stream a couple of times, but I haven't gone into it because we're not working on that yet. But when we do, I'll be running down with you all how it's all going to go. But you're probably not all, there's no shock there, because ever since we updated the sprites to tall sprites, I think it's been pretty clear that that means that things are going to change in regards to the battle system, because we're no longer going to be using the original default chibi assets anymore, because there'd be visual inconsistencies. And hi Met, how are you doing? It's so good to see you. Is this a Unity project? No, thank goodness for nothing against Unity, but my goodness. Imagine me doing this in Unity. I'd be dead. Not that you couldn't do an RPG in Unity. I think Vagabond Dog, did he say he was doing his new project in Unity? RPG? I think he said it was Unity. I don't think it was Unreal. I can't remember now. LOL, Unity is fun. If you're actually a programmer, it is, I'm sure. You've got to sprite for your right to party. Hi Tux, how you doing? I'm a JR dev. Still learning RPG Maker. I think one thing that people have to realise about me is that I'm not a programmer. Shocker, I'm not a programmer, guys. I know nothing about programming, so I couldn't use Unity because I'd be out of my depth. I'm just an extremely imaginative and creative person who's very keen on making a story and an epic world. That's what I am. Okay, your programming just did a different way. Well, you could, I guess so. It's just weird to think about that, because I just don't see myself as that. I see myself as someone who's like does loads of things. I dip into many roles because you kind of have to with this sort of project. And out of all the roles, programming's the one I dip into the least. Luckily, because with RPG Maker, you're not forced to. I did spend a good week messing about with scripts last week because I had to for the custom hero work creator we're doing, but it's not very often. It's like 2% of the time. 2% of the time. Alright, so back to the juicy stuff. And I'm making an RPG in the console. Oh really? Yeah, guys, just so you know, I have a creative work channel in my Discord, everybody, so if you do want to pop in your stuff, your games, feel free to share them with us in there. That's the purpose of the creative work channel. Exclamation mark Discord for anyone who wants to join our little nerdy corner. But yes, Raindrop Chronicles is an extremely awesome project, and it's full of it's a very living, breathing world of awesome characters, and I'm very proud of what we've got so far. It's just getting better and better, and more. I see a huge potential with what we're building, so I'm very excited. I love nerdy corners. Yeah, that's what we are. We're just a bunch of RPG fans and nerds. RPG's best genre. That's what I think. Romance, yes, that's what we're talking about first today. Because Raindrop Chronicles, one thing it is going to have is a romance system, guys. The one thing about being a solo developer is that you can't have too many features in your game, because you'll spread yourself too thin and you won't be able to. You can't possibly implement everything. But I've always said, if there's one thing I do want to implement, it's a romance system. That was always the number one feature. If the game had 0 features other than the main quest, but was going to have one, the first choice, if I was going to have one, what was always the romance. So I guess it's I'm going to try for it. I'm going to aim for it to be considered the unique selling point, I suppose, of the game, because I'm actually trying to make it the sort of romance system that's not really, doesn't really exist in many other games, not to this extent anyway, because there's things that I'm really interested in experimenting with our romance system, which I'm going to go over in a bit. But first of all, I'm going to talk about what we've already talked about and added to this document. Hi TM, you think so? I expected everyone to say Wednesday Addams today because, you know, totally got the outfit on. Frenemy, do you have any ideas on how to structure the romance system? Is that something you'd rather talking about a later stream? I mean, I'm not against talking about the structures, Exy, and if you do want to pop it, anything in the ideas discussion, feel free to, if you've got anything in mind that's very technical. For example, if you know I'm going to get brain melt, it's probably better to put it in the ideas discussion. But anything that's simple enough for me to kind of take in, then that's fine to bring up on stream. But yes, I guess right now I'm seeing it as talk about just what I'd like to put in, but anything in regards to the system and the inner workings of it, like if you use X, you say spot anything and you think, but this, would that be able to be done? Then feel free to like mention it on the Discord or something. Because as you know, my mind doesn't work like that, at least not initially. I can't get my words out today. Because first, my mind always goes create wild with that imagination at first, and there's no limitations for me at the start. But then I start to have to limit it after when I realise how it went, the workings and how it's going to have to be put in. But yeah, was wondering if you had any ideas floating around already. I guess, I mean, I'm going to have a look into it, Zexy, because I'm sure there's probably a few different ways. But as we know, it's all going to work behind the scenes in the game. There's not going to be a bar or anything like that shows you how close you are to being a romance with someone or anything like that. Obviously, there's going to be a bar, like, really in the background, but there's not going to be a visual bar in the game. I know that a lot of games do that, which is fine, because some of my favourite games do have bars, but I'm very intrigued to explore a game that doesn't have one. I know Cyberpunk isn't going to have one with its romance system, and I liked it when I heard that it wasn't going to have a bar, because it feels more like real life then, if you know what I mean. Because in real life, you don't have a bar, do you, when you're trying to romance someone? It's not like, oh, I really like that person, I wonder if they like me, and then you look at a bar. You have to work it out by interacting with them, and kind of you're meant to find out in a way where, from their speech and the way they talk to you, whether it's working right in real life. So thank you, Dragon, for that follow. I appreciate it. How you doing? Did we have a host or a raid or something? I swear I saw an alert pop up, and if anyone did, thank you very much. For anyone that did, Twitch is a big butt face lately and doesn't tell me when someone hosts. So, and I used to create D&D adventures and be the DM, but could never do something like this. Very cool. Thank you, TM. Yeah, and in a way, like, what I'm doing, like the whole creating a world and characters thing, is very similar to DMing, I suppose. But when it comes to D&D, I'm not exactly knowledgeable about all the rules either, so I could never do that, because I know things have to go a certain way with D&D, and I'm a bit of a noob in regards to that. But I do really love, I think I like the storytelling behind D&D and all that. It's super fun. So Tutty is beautiful in a tiered interaction system, yeah? And no bar then when we buy alcohol. Host was me. Thank you, Dragon. What were you streaming? What were you doing? And thank you so much for the follow. How are you doing? And instead of a bar, you could facial expressions to give player feedback. Yeah, that's kind of what I was thinking of doing to a degree. I guess what's more appealing to me to explore with this system is have it be revealed through their dialogue, what they actually say in the dialogue to you, if it's positive, for example, or flirty, their facial expressions on their avatars and their sprites, all those more realistic and immersive things, because I do want to try and make Raindrop Chronicles immersive. I know it's only a 2D RPG, but I think 2D RPGs can still be immersive. One game that did this sort of thing quite well is Undertale. They had a sort of moral system and things going on in the background, but didn't really spell it out, did they? And that was an extremely immersive 2D game, so it can work. And I did it back when there were fewer rules. You had a lot more options. And no, just host random people if it's interesting, didn't stream today. Oh, well, thank you. I'm very honoured that you chose to host me. But yes, so that's really the plan, really. But I guess, and Zexy brought this up in the Discord the other day, which I found a really good point. Zexy said, if there's no visual bar in the menu about the romance system, how are we going to let the player know that a romance system even exists in the game? Because I don't want to have a tutorial. I don't want a tutorial popping up saying, oh, you can romance in Raindrop Chronicles. Screw that. So I want to think of an immersive way to kind of make it clear. It can be a challenge, because doing a tutorial, a pop-up box saying it's like the easy way out, to me, I'd rather really make it clear to the player in an immersive way. So I'm intrigued about ideas there. I mean, you had an idea about items, trinkets, Zexy. If we were going to do that, they wouldn't get that trinket until the romance has already been developed, right? So they wouldn't necessarily find out early. But it's not, I mean, most players who've looked into the game would probably have read on the description of the game that's a feature, but some people won't have a clue, and and facial expressions, pet names, and if you want to use game mechanics, you can have certain status effects or skills show up that represent and maybe adoption of a pet. Pet names is a good one as well. Like, imagine if, say, Nigel, for example. Nigel is an NPC. He works in the inn in the village that we're in episode 1, and he's a male gender only romance option. I just feel we got to represent male gender only, same sex for males, because we got a lot of all gender romances in the game. And in all honesty, I want people to not feel restricted as well, and that's why I've chosen the Violet to also be an all-gender romance. So that Carol, because Carol's a brilliant romance choice, but she's also a barrel, and not everybody wants to romance a barrel. Someone might want to romance a human character. So it's nice to not restrict people too much, but at the same time, there's all the characters, we can have a variety of characters with different preferences. That's the aim. So, some people will only like males, some will only like females, some will like all. It all depends on the character. And it's kind of up to you as the player to work that out as well, because they're not going to straight out say, that what their sexuality is. That's something you'll only realise through dialogue and, talking to them. For example, with Nigel, if you're a female hero and you try to flirt with Nigel, maybe he could say something like, I'm very sorry, I don't like ladies, or something like that, and then you'll know that you can't romance Nigel. Not like he'll say, I don't like ladies romantically or something. And mine started before everyone met each other and would meet along the way, say at Tavern. And if you want to use game mechanics, you can have certain status effects or skills show up that represent. Okay. And maybe adoption of a pet. Cool. So any really fancy features, like things like that, I kind of will see as like the last update to the game, like anything that's like just like anything that's an awesome bonus to what we've already built. But it's good to sit on these things and think, yeah, that could work, and then we'll look into implementing such a thing, and if it fits with the system once we've got the base in place, I guess. Okay, so who else have we got? Right, and the other thing that was brought up, cheating. So I feel like there should be consequences to cheating, of course. So there'll always be players that want to romance everybody, because especially if there's certain rewards from romances, they're going to be all like, yeah, I want to get everything, but they should be punished for doing that, because, you know, it's not a good thing to cheat. So I only feel like it's fair to have consequences to such a thing. So for example, if you are a male that romances Nigel, but later meet Crius and romance him as well, you know, there'll be a bit of a problem. And I think, you know, we should think about what that problem is and how what would potentially happen if you did cheat. That's a good thing to consider as well. I saw him, but I'm flattered, but I have my eyes on if you're a girl that flirts with Nigel. Yes. So what you said there is an interesting thing as well, Zexy, like insert male name here, because one of the things somebody mentioned a while ago, which I always found really intriguing, was that if you don't romance a certain NPC, they will romance somebody else, like in the village. So they will move on to another. And I don't know if that exists. I mean, it's very ambitious, so I can't confirm whether we'll do that just yet, because we need to figure out how it would be possible to do such a thing. But I don't know. From any RPG I've played that has a romance system, I can't think off the top of my head any of them that romanced other characters if you didn't romance them. They'd just stay single, right? And it reflects real life, because that's what happens in real life. If you don't romance someone, they'll get a boyfriend or a girlfriend elsewhere eventually, right? And it kind of, the appeal of it's good. Like, I like it. I like the sound of it, and the reason why is because it makes it feel like a real living, breathing world that isn't just focused around you as the hero, the player of the game. They're still living with or without you and having relationships with each other. It's an interesting thing. Like I says, it's something to think about how it would work, but I think it's a unique thing that I can't think of any romances have that I'd like to explore, just out of pure curiosity. How a player dresses their character might be a way. Yeah, if that's going to be a thing too. I mean, like I said, one thing about being a solo developer is you can't always have too many features, and dressing up your hero would have been impossible a month ago in this game. It might be possible now because we have a composite hero layer system now, so it's not impossible now, but before it was just a static hero, which meant that any clothing updates would have been impossible in this game. But, you know, things are a little bit more ambitious now. We actually have a layered composite system at least, so, which was very hard to get in RPG Maker, I'll tell you that. I feel super unique that our game has it. But yes, it's still hard work, so it's still an interesting thing and definitely makes sense. But at minimum, they would, you know, like you based on either your gender, your morals, or the way you behave, your personality, which is morals, I guess. And maybe other variables too, who knows. like how you've reacted to certain quests. Like if you pushed Fiona in the lake in main quest 1, Nigel might not like you because that's his sister. He might say you were mean to my sister, so sorry, I'm not dating you. But to be honest, Nigel's easy to get, so I feel like he'd be easy to win over. It's more the ones that I've marked as hard to get. As Sharu's extremely hard to get. It's those ones that are more likely going to be turned off easily by you if you do certain quests a certain way. Okay, so I've been living RPG style, BRB romance and another NPC. Yeah, I'm going to try and make sure that the consequences are strong for that so that people realise they can only romance one person. The only time it would be acceptable to cheat is, say, if you met somebody who was a casual fling and like there was no commitments. You know, like for example, they said, yeah, I don't care about who else you're with, and they just see you as, you know, a fling and there's no kind of commitments there, fair enough. But if you're seeing someone in that, I think they'd be pretty mad at you if you had a one night stand with someone else. I think there could be real strong consequences there. And that's a neat idea, and I think narrative consequences are good. I don't think punishing players through mechanics is a good idea. For example, if a player romances Nigel in episode 1, they don't know Christ exists. If Christ shows up in episode 4 and the player like Christ, they should be allowed to change their mind. They shouldn't be punished for a decision made 2 years or 30 years ago. Well, think of it like real life. It's not like they're going to get punished, it's more like they would dump Nigel and be with Cryus instead, right? That would be how it would work in real life. But you can't have both at the same time is the thing. You can't like be seeing Nigel still while you're with Cryus. So that's kind of the first thought that's coming through my head, that you just end your relationship with Nigel. But you couldn't still be seeing Nigel and travelling to Lightfall and having you on one night stands with him. Well, you see, because that would make you a cheat then. But I wouldn't necessarily say you deserve to be punished if you'd say you decide to. You think, oh well, I was with Nigel, but I actually prefer Christ, so I think I'm going to just end things with Nigel. Yeah, that's something to consider if we thought about breakups and things like that. It makes it more complex, but you know, that's, you know, an important thing, like breakups, if you decide you want to move on. But that could have consequences. Maybe Nigel wouldn't be happy. But at the end of the day, let me just give you some real talk here, guys. This is a choices matter and choice and consequence game. To me, the whole point in these sort of games is that you feel like you've been screwed over. Like you choices have weight. You got to be careful about how you approach things, because otherwise, yes, you can get screwed over. That's the point in the genre. Otherwise, what's the point in having a game with choice and consequences, right? It also encourages replayability value if, say, that first playthrough didn't go as smoothly as you liked, and you think, actually, yeah, that didn't go down well with those NPCs, so and you can do it again in another playthrough. Now that I've said there'll be a new game kind of plus feature, I don't know if it's going to be a traditional new game plus, but it is going to work similar to new game plus probably. Now that I'm going to have that, I think, you know, there's very much the replayability factor. I had to have new game plus because it's a single save file system, so yes, and this lady that cried on RimWorld is now kind of okay with adultery. Yeah. That was me, Tux. I cried at RimWorld. I'm surprised you remember. It was a long time ago. And I agree with choice having consequences, but I wouldn't call it being screwed over. Yeah, I'm an evil author as well. I'm not a nice writer, guys. So I I want to make a game that's going to tear people's hearts out. I'm not going to be cruel because I believe in wholesome moments as well. You've got to have the wholesome, you've got to get joy, because otherwise people will just put your game down and think, screw this game. Screw this game, it's just depressing. And we don't want that either. So yeah, there's obviously going to be lots of wholesome, funny, joyful moments. Want the players to feel rewarded. But also I want them to have their heart sink as well, because otherwise they will abuse the Choices Matter system, and I don't want people abusing the Choices Matter system. I want it to have real weight, and that's the point. You know, in Raindrop Chronicles there'll be many a time that you regret what you've done, and you're like, you know, I shouldn't have done that, because that's why I want it to be replayable, guys. That I want this to be a replayable game. If it goes perfectly the first time, then no one's going to replay it again. Well, some folks want to be the first kiss rather than being the second relationship. Yeah, and that could have an effect as well. Like someone like Asharu, who's extremely hard to get, might like be so prude that he'd be like, no, I can be your only one ever. Anyway, but I could, like we said, Van, he would definitely be that kind of guy that wants you to be his one and only. You know, he would be put off. But not necessarily every NPC would be so strict in regards to they'll be different. Someone like Woody, for example, or Axel, probably wouldn't give a damn if you had another relationship. I mean, Axel... You know, it all depends on the character, whether they're a prude, whether they're, you know, and, side note about what you were saying about NPCs getting together in Dragon Age Inquisition. If you don't romance Dorian or Bull, they can start dating. I'm a little late mentioning that. I think it's like 10 minutes ago when you were about it. No worries, Etsy. I'm glad you mentioned it now, because now I know a game that has that mechanic. Very cool. Who here is keen on the idea of a game with a romance system that has the NPCs romance each other if you don't romance them? And Nathal, thank you so much for that follow. Appreciate it. Because it makes the world feel a little bit more dynamic, I guess, that not everything is just ruled around you. So I like it for that way. So I'm just trying to think now. For example, Nigel, if you didn't romance him, might romance Cryus. Or another gay guy who lives in Lakefall, you know, like we say, that could happen. And same with the other characters. Can't think off the top of my head now who they'd romance, but another NPC that's around, basically, they could just end up with them instead. And I'm sorry I used Cryus as an example, Zexy. Cryus might not be interested in Nigel at all. Who knows? And thank you for the bitties tea, I appreciate that. Thank you very much. Thank you. And it makes sense, but are they all going to sit around single until the player makes a choice and then all couple up after that? That's an interesting thing to mention too, because at what point does it become too late to romance somebody? Because that would be a thing. If they go off and start romancing someone else, does that mean they're unavailable to you now? I guess it depends how far through their romance they are. Like, if they're full on in love with an NPC, then it'll probably be pretty hard. But if they've just started liking, it's like I say, it's a pretty detailed system, such a thing. So there's a lot of thought to go into that to see how it could work. If we have to simplify it, fair enough. If we feel like, oh well, we can't do that because that's way too complex. But I guess it's like this is where we have to think of how it would be implemented as well. And it's fine. Cryas is as malleable as water until he exists in the flame, yeah. But it's a fun thing, for sure. But this is it. Raindrop Chronicles, I guess, the romance and the choice and consequence are the two things. Maybe the moral system too is the third. Yeah, those are the three USPs of Raindrop Chronicles: the romancing, the choice is better, and the variety of branching paths, and the morals that your hero can take are the three things. And I think the three things are all very interlinked as well, and they work with each other. So don't expect the most groundbreaking gameplay or the most flashy battles in the world, because Raindrop Chronicles probably isn't going to be that. I'm no pro when it comes to that side of things, but I'm going to try my best to make it fun, of course, as you do. But if I was going to say the things I really want to put my heart and soul into the most, it is those three. Those things. Like I say, you have to kind of focus and think, what am I going to really make sure is good in this game? Rather than be like, we're going to have romancing, we're going to have fishing, we're going to have hunting, we're going to have every single thing in the world in all the games, and then it basically becomes like an MMO because you've had every single feature possible. But you know, who knows, because by the time we get to this point, I might feel like there's room for things. Big if though, it'll all depend what works over what we've already built. And it'll be, you know, we'll get feedback, we'll have people, so it'll all depend. It's really hard to say at this point in time how wild we can go with features, because it could end up something where it's just about the story and the choices and the romance, and there might be a bit of collectible stuff here and there, or you know, the odd hunt thing and stuff, but there might not be more than that. You know, it all depends on how I feel when that time comes, because otherwise you know, if it was ever anything where I felt like, well, we're not going to get this game out until 2030 and it's just episode 1, then, you know, we might need to sort of pick what we're going to focus on. But no matter what, it's going to be the romance that comes first. The romance and the choices side of things is like the number one. If anything's going to shine, it'll be that. So, install Cyberpunk. I'm jealous, Tox. I'm actually installing mine now, but it's going to be a while till we can play. If you give the player the option to sabotage a relationship or break up a couple if you want to date one of them, The Sims 4 lets you do this on Valentine's Day. Yeah, so that's an interesting thing. I honestly love these. I love such a thing. I would love it if the relationship system could go that deep, where you could have things like that happen. I want to keep my, you know, eyes open and consider it. We'll see, like I said, we'll see how ambitious it is to implement. And if we find that, oh God, this is actually very hard work, we could always try and simplify it. But we'll see, because we're not at the implementation stage of this yet. This is all just planning work. This is all just planning and discussion at this stage. But obviously at some point I will be having a go at implementing it. In regards to the points, because I've been doing that from the start. I've got all the dialogues where I've got the minus affinity points for the... So I know, I mean, it's adaptable. The point side, I think we could think, I know that should be -2 instead, or -5. So that's very flexible with what numbers we give. But I'm basically making sure I mark down during interactions when there will be a variable, a change in someone's opinion of you, based on what you say. So I'm tracking it already, you know, so that's one thing, and that'll hopefully make things a little bit less hard work when it comes to actually implementing it, really, because it's just about it all works variable wise, doesn't it, really? It's all just a bunch of variables and switches working in the background. But there might be more to it than that. Zexy might know more than me, because Zexy's kind of a pro at this sort of thing. Hi, Even. I'm not Scottish, but you're close. I am from England, which is next to Scotland. So, yes. Do you have machine guns and cheesecake? Cheesecake, I want some now. Never mind. Okay, points to everyone in the room. Alright guys, so was there anything to talk about today? No, I think I talked about the main things. I just wanted to go over what would happen if there was cheating in the game, and also the whole romancing other NPCs thing. And you know, some could totally just stay single. It's not like everyone would have to romance someone else, but there's a chance, you know, potentially, if we wanted to do that sort of thing. And are the episodes going to be downloaded separately, where it functions more like a sequel that you import your save file into, or is it going to be more like expansion, like how Final Fantasy just keeps adding stuff on? So that's a thing as well. I've got loads of bookmarked pages actually from the RPG Maker forum about how to make the episodic things carry through. There's a lot involved in how to do it, and because we don't even have a playable build yet, I haven't like gone super deep into that, but I've got the pages saved there for when it happens, because I know that it's doable. It's just a matter of how it's going to be done, which you know me guys, I don't get my brain all into a tizzy, like where I'm thinking about 100 things at once. You have to focus on one thing at a time. Let's get this coding up. No, we're not getting the coding up. So, yeah, this won't get implemented till a while, guys. This is all just planning. We're not going to get me burnt out, chat. With the delay, my antics mean very little, and I'm ready, SpongeBob face. So yeah, when it comes to making RPG, guys, there's a bazillion things to consider. So I kind of deal with it when the time comes, but you know, this is all something to talk about, because it's been a long time coming to talk about the romance. And it was when I announced Violet was going to be romanceable as well. We all just decided to chat about it for some reason, out the blue. Because really what we were doing was working on dialogue. That's what we were really doing. But then we ended up talking about this, and we got carried away. Because it's more like the sequel option. That would remove most of my concerns, but if you end up doing expansion option, there are some issues I'd like to bring up regarding the romance. So when you're comfortable talking about that, let me know. Well, I don't have a preference to either. To me, it would just be what works and what's going to get the save files to carry through as they should, so that all the variables and data carries over and nothing's lost. It's mainly, to me, as long as it does that job, then that's all I hope for. So I'm trying to figure out, hang on, let me think, because I'm trying to think of the real difference between the two. So the expansion way sounds a little bit more confusing. I think with the way we're going, it's more of an episodic thing than an expansion thing. I don't kind of see the other episodes as DLC that's going on top of this. I see it as a whole new game altogether, I guess. But there's a game from RPG Maker 2000 that's one of my favourite games that was episodic as well. And they just simply had the save file carryover. When you completed the one episode, you say it was saved, or your progress was saved, and your save was carried over when you started up the second one. So that to me sounds like the simple and the way that makes the most sense. I didn't actually even think of the expansion way, funnily enough, but I'm curious why that one would be an appeal over the first one, if there is any pros to that one over the first. Planning, I roll up my sleeves and start programming. Yeah, everybody's different. That's what I did before for Roy. I was talking a little bit earlier in stream about, because we've had over 200 streams of this now. When in the first 200 streams, I just did bits. I just did everything all at once, basically. And that's why it's kind of took so long, really, because I ended up spreading myself too thin, and nothing actually ever got fully completed because there was just bits of everything everywhere. Bits of battles, bits of story, bits of cutscenes, bits of just bits of everything, all messy and unfinished. So this time I'm approaching it in a way where it's like one thing, all that. First, get that done first, so it's 100% done, and then move on to the next thing after that. Build on top of the base, basically, rather than and make that base, that very basic foundation, just build on it rather than just do loads of little bits and try and make them all come together, which is what I did before. Which is really why I'm adamant that we're not doing any of this until the new year. Not even touching it. Not even talking about it. It's all just, we'll wait, we're going to get scenes done first. And the only reason we're really talking about the romance system today is because it was related to the character development stream we had previously. We were talking about Carol and Rose, because they're a big part of the dialogue, the scenes that we've been working on at the moment, and we wanted to flesh them out, make sure they were consistent. We talked about, I announced that Violet's actually going to be a romanceable character. She wasn't before, and then we just ended up talking about it all stream, didn't we? That explanation sounds shiny, yeah. But Office is Exy. If there's anything in your mind, feel free to put something in the Discord, because I know that your brain works a lot more technical than mine does. And I'm not, you know me, I'm no pro in the technical aspect of things. So if there's ever anything I've like not considered and you're like, oh no, that might break the whole game, Rose hasn't thought of that and it might break the whole game, then feel free to bring it up. But yeah, I always face those techie things when the time comes. I tend to deal with it when I actually sit and think, okay, it's time to do this bit now. But sometimes that can come back and haunt you, so I am aware it can be a drawback. But like I say, sometimes I don't like to get myself worked up into a tizzy where I'm worrying about things too prematurely either. So it all depends. It's a hard one. It's a hard thing being a game dev. And do you do the artwork yourself or have artists? I have to not do it myself, Furry, because I die of overworking myself. I say that, but I have done the artwork myself, some of it. You know, it's kind of like I do bits, whatever's necessary, but the rest, whatever I can't do, is already done for me. So, for example, you know, the main characters, Carol the Barrel and everyone like that, their main sprite and face avatars are basically 95% mine and my original design. And, you know, I've dabbled, but I can definitely not say I've done 100% of it, because I haven't. It's more like 10 10 or 20% of the art. But I can't give you an exact percentage because I actually don't even know. You just have to dip yourself in what you can, and whatever you can't do, you just get done elsewhere. Because, when you've completed a game and the credits come up, there's pretty long credits there, isn't there, usually? There's rarely ever games where there's just one name at the credits. Actually, that's a good question. What games have been made solely by one individual, like 100%? I'm actually really curious now. I mean, was Stardew Valley and Undertale 100% and solely made by just them? Because I want to know now. Or did they get extra help elsewhere in some aspects of the games? And making each episode its own game could end up helping when it comes to managing global variables. Yeah, I mean, I see them as their own game because content-wise they're going to be like bit deep and full enough to be their own game, but I don't think RPG Maker can have different project files because the database has to carry through, doesn't it? All the variables and all the data in the database needs to use that same database, otherwise they wouldn't carry through. I'm not 100% like in the know of all that, but that's kind of what I did read when I was reading through a thread about this briefly at one point. So I will always have to use that same project file as far as I'm aware. So for example, when we start episode 2, I can't start a brand new project file, right? I'd have to carry on with the same database. But the games themselves are obviously going to be individual games. So for example, when we had the Steam page up for Roots and Rumours, that's its own game. And when you guys wishlist that's like its own individual game, and then the next game will be a separate game from that, right? It's not going to be a DLC on top of Roots and Rumours. Roots and Rumours is just the first in a series. If that's kind of how I'm seeing it and how I want it to be, and what I think makes the most sense. Last game I did all but the music, but was only 8-bit to 2D. Awesome. I give any credit to developers that can do it all themselves. I really do. The scope of Raindrop Chronicles is absolutely humongous, though. So, like, if I did do it all myself, I'd have to be like Superwoman or something, I'll tell you that. Because I feel like with the scope we're going with Raindrop Chronicles, it could easily be a team of 12 working on this game at least. Because it's an RPG, and it's a pretty, for a 2D RPG, it's pretty advanced, a lot going on, and a lot of scope. And I think maybe Slash Your Keep, and Tunic is also solo from memory. Yeah, so it all depends on the game scope as well. Like, if it's a smaller game, then it's more doable than if it's a big epic RPG, basically. Okay, so because I'd find it impossible, guys. I'm gonna be real with you. I work 18 hours a day every day, 7 days a week. I might, basically that's what it feels like on this project. So, and that's doing what I'm doing, which to me feels like not enough at all. Like, sometimes I'm like, I should be doing this, I should be doing that, and it's like, but I can't because I'm already working like crazy. So, if I did any more than I did, it'd literally be 24 hours every day. And I'd not even sleep, and I'd die of exhaustion. So you have to be sensible. You can't just pile every single task on top of it. It's not healthy There's a lot, game developers get a lot of, people don't realise how much work goes into it because the frigging studios making games. Solo development actually isn't healthy at all. That's impressive and commendable, yeah. But when I say I work 18 hours a day every week, please realise that a lot of that time is me just messing about, like figuring things out, watching YouTube videos and like learning things. A big portion of it tends to be that rather than actually being there and doing it all the time, because there's just a ton of things to learn. There's a ton of things for me to learn. We have the whole story aspect of the game, we have the whole programming and feature side of the game and all the messy implementation. We have marketing, we have the fact I run a community, we have like you say, even the art, the asset, the design side of things. You know, there's a lot of roles there, and it's kind of like each of those build up and take time. This is why I gave up on, why I've decided to have a hiatus from Twitter, because for a bit, because even just uploading a tweet every stream with a entertaining caption and a screenshot of the stream, I found it was taking an hour away at least each time, and it was like, it shouldn't be taking that time, it's just a damn tweet, and it wasn't making enough of a difference in the long run for me to continue to do it. So just freeing that time up is going to just kind of take away a bit of time that I can either do to actually get some relaxing time out of instead, or do something else that might be more productive. That's why I don't go on Instagram. I've said about several times now that I'm going to go on Instagram more and post, and I never do because it's impossible. I'm already doing so much, so I don't. I never get around to it in the end. And yeah, I haven't played a video game for a long time. Not properly anyway. I have dabbled. Like I've picked some up for an hour and also now and again, but nothing ongoing. So that's why I'm kind of really happy that I'm going to be playing Cyberpunk soon, because it's about damn time I have a game to play and to get stuck into. I've been working myself, and it needs to. You need to be wise. You can't do that. You can't just work, and especially if you find that one part of your work is not benefiting you. If you're thinking, well, I'm doing this and there's really no point in doing it because it's not going to benefit the project, then drop it. That's why I'm dropping Twitter, because there's absolutely no gain from it. The only ones that, I mean, some of you guys are great and you like and retweet my tweets, Azrael being one of them, and some of the rest of you have done that, but the majority of support on my tweets comes from bots that are automatic retweeters, not real people. So I can't be doing with that because no one even notices. I don't get people comment and discover me from that. I've been doing it ongoingly for a year now. I think, or maybe a bit less than a year now, I've been tweeting the streams regularly. So I even post a link to the YouTube video up of the stream of the VOD that I upload to YouTube. And in the stats, it tells you how many clicks you have. I get, like, out of all the tweets I've put up, I think there's been less than 5 that have actually clicked on one of those videos, of all of them, out of every single. So it's just not worth it. It deserves a moral boost, 100%. So yeah, it's one thing I'm going to do, because of course it's a concern, dropping the marketing side of it is a concern, because when you're making a game, especially one of this scope and time and effort, I'm gonna want people to find out about it and potentially play it when it comes out. That's one reason why I'm making the Steam page early, so I can gather a wish list. The goal is to at least gather a decent sized wish list. I'm not expecting something massive, but I'm expecting a decent amount on the wish list before I launch, because you want to know that your game has something. So like at least a small sort of foundation, and it kind of would go so far in the Steam algorithm. If nobody buys your game on launch, then you'll get buried on Steam and no one will ever discover your game. So I do put in like a ridiculous amount of hours into this. It's far more than a full-time job. It's many full-time jobs over. So if this is going to be sustainable long term, I do need to kind of make something from this game realistically. I mean, I'd still carry on doing it even if it wasn't, because I'm passionate about it, and I love doing it. Like, I couldn't imagine not doing it. I'd do it in my free time. If I worked full-time elsewhere, I'd get home from work and do this. But we just have to be realistic that I'm not going to be able to put as much into it if that was the case. So that's the thing, isn't it? So one thing I am going to do, especially because we're not going to get exposure on the Twitter anymore, which we weren't getting anyway. But before the Steam page launches, I'm going to make a big spreadsheet of emails of journalists, and I'm going to email them all about Raindrop Chronicles. We might actually spend a whole stream doing that. We'll do a whole spreadsheet together and collect, and especially when the Steam page launches as well. I think that'll be really useful to have. It's very much recommended for indie devs, well, not just indie devs, any game dev, to do that, to make a list of contacts, because I've got a press kit, so that makes things a lot easier in regards to that. But I'm gonna never know. Someone might write about the game, but you kind of have to let them know about it so they know it exists. And hi Warren, did I say hi? I can't remember. I always forget if I've actually said hi or not. Hashtags are the main way to use Twitter for marketing. RPG Maker, game dev, community game, etc. They'll get eyeballs on your tweet. It's a multi-hour conversation, but there's a reason marketing is a type of business degree, and it's something I've never really managed to smash and get my head around. I've watched so many hours of social media sort of tip videos on YouTube. Then they're all, I know that the people who do those videos are trying to help, but it doesn't guarantee it for everybody. That's the thing. It's all a very oversaturated place now, social media is, and it's not like you can follow a sort of like a list of things to do, and then if you do it, voila, you've got a massive following. It doesn't work like that now. It might have worked like that years ago, but it certainly doesn't work like that now, because I've tried a lot of different ways, but I've not really had much luck. But it's also hard to really put everything into it 100%, because there's so many other aspects of sides of the project to work on as well. If I put everything into marketing, then there's no time to actually do the game. So and I'll still drop links to you on there. Rose was planning on doing a follow Friday list this week anyway. Thank you Ezra, I appreciate it. But like I said, I'll still tweet, so don't unfollow me or anything, guys. I'm still gonna tweet. It's just not gonna be like all the time. It's just going to be important things or something really cool to show. And like I says, I'll be doing screenshots Saturday. Gosh, I can't talk. I'll be doing screenshots Saturday again. when we start getting some juicy content to show when it builds up a bit. That'll be a thing for sure. I don't think things with links do very well on Twitter, I've found. So, for example, when I've linked my YouTube videos, which I wanted to do, of course, because I want my YouTube channel to at least be people to see that. But when you do put links to any other social media in Twitter, it kind of buries it, I find, the algorithm. It's not very kind. There's a reason most AAA games have more than half their budget devoted solely to marketing, yeah. And it's also a reason why indies get publishers, because it can help a bunch, because they can do that side of the job then instead of you. Getting a publisher doesn't appeal to me, however, because not saying that, you know, because it's pretty hard to even get one. You have to have an absolutely outstanding game to impress a publisher. But even if I was in that situation, I don't know if it'd be appealing to me, because I'm such an independent person, and I love control. I like my own control. I can get very funny about that. So having that taken away from me, and I know that publishers as well put deadlines on there on people, and they're like, okay, so this game is going to be out in 2022, you're releasing Roots and Rumours in 2022. I'd feel like under pressure that it has to be done then, and I couldn't like potentially delay it to add more better features and to make the game but like not really cool and even better if I wanted to, which totally I would. If I had a date for the game and that date was coming and I felt the game wasn't ready like completely and I wanted to do something a bit more to make it even better, I blooming will delay it. Of course I would, if it's going to make the game better. You know, so you're not getting a publisher because you're waiting for EA to give you an offer. Yeah, exactly. Just so you know, chat, EA is my least favourite company. It's not like they're watching this stream anyway, so I'm not scared saying it. But just not my cup of tea. Also, don't get listening to Zach say. Don't get thinking I'm devoted to EA. That would be terrible. That would be terrible. People will be thinking all sorts about me. Zexy is dripping with sarcasm with what he says, everybody, as he knows my hatred runs deep. And it's nothing against them. I'm sure I'd love them to death if they did things the way they should, but they don't. Yeah. There's a lot of greed in the industry now. Okay, guys, so we're having a lot of chatting, haven't we? But let's get into actually doing some stuff today. Sometimes it's good to have the chats, though. It's sometimes good to. And to be honest, that's what we always do. All we ever do on this stream is chat. Let's face it. That's all we do. We just ramble. Oh, guys, you've seen all the spoilers. I've just realised. I hope none of you saw, because it was some massive reveals. Right. Nigel and Fiona's assets have been updated, which they were going to be updated anyway because we switched to the better sprites. The sprites have recently gone taller. So here's our husbando Nigel. Who thinks Nigel's a husbando in this chat? So let me get Photoshop up so we can see the difference. Why have we got? I've got the wrong window capture up here, so bear with me a sec, folks. There we go, that's better. I'm going to get Photoshop up because I want to show you old Nigel compared to new Nigel so we can really see the difference. watching 10. You watching 160p, so the spoilers were just blurry blobs for me. Lol. Is he a blurry blob for you, Nigel, right now? He's going to look probably a little bit pixelated on this scene view because Draw.io doesn't make him look crisp like Photoshop does. Rose, look into this. I think they're still working with indies. Oh, cool. Yeah, if anybody like finds anything like that, feel free to, you know. As long as it doesn't mean I'm tied to Square Enix. Let's read it anyway. Let's read it over. I always find with things like, I mean, I don't know about this one in particular with Square, but sometimes there's always a, what do you call it? You have to give them something in return, right? It's not like people are going to just help you out of the goodness of their heart. There's always a catch. Like, for example, with publishers, the catch is that they want a certain percentage of your game when it comes out. Like, it isn't just the fact that they have control over how the projects run and stuff like that and the release dates, but they also take a certain percentage of your game as well, after as well. Or worse, they want the rights. Yeah, I mean, obviously there's going to be a catch because they're going to want something. Nobody does anything for nothing, so obviously they would want one. But like, you know me, like I said, I'm very independent and I freaking hate losing my control. Like, it would literally break my heart if someone owned Carol the Barrel. And they owned her and she's mine. Carol's mine. No one's having my Carol. I get too attached. Very true, but worth a look though. And what if like they changed Carol and everything and they were like, she's like this now. And she's got like, I'm trying to imagine how Carol would be changed, but I can't because I only see her as she is. Very true, worth a look though. Let's just hope I win the lottery, everyone, shall we? Because if I did, then I could do all sorts. Never know. Where's the assets? I've completely lost them. But no matter what, I'm gonna do it, guys. Don't, you know, it's not like I'm ruined or everything's hard for me because I don't have extra help. Of course not. I'm passionate enough and my drive's strong enough to create something really cool from this. It is, I mean, of course things would be easier if there was extra help and extra, you know, people doing all that side of things like the marketing, because it's a god-awful thing to do. You know, I'm not very good at it, so but you never know. Like, we're still in early days here, and like we said, we're gonna make a press kit, guys, so we never know, might have something. So do what? Sorry, I was AFK. I forgot what I was saying. What was I talking about, chat? I forgot. I am here for the blue pixel booty. Hi chum, how you doing? Welcome back. Yeah, last time we opened this file I accidentally revealed some blue booty and I was mortified because I was like, no, I'm gonna get banned from Twitch now. Just imagine though, if I did. That would be the biggest joke ever. Twitch would have like really lost the plot if that happened. But here's Nigel. I've made him He looks extra worried. I've made his eyebrows a variation from how this face originally looks, and that's because he is a worried boy. If you look at his face, he's like frigging worried all the time. So that's going to be his default sort of face most of the time. But of course his expression might change now and again. But that's kind of a worried Nigel face. So that was old Nigel, everybody. Look at the difference. He's so much more emotive now. It's actually quite insane, if I say so myself. Who knows that pixel eyes make such a difference? After seeing Cyberpunk's character creator all over Twitch, those blue pixel booties are nothing. Yeah, makes me feel a little bit better. Banned for blue pixel booty. Wow, yeah. It's with the way things are going on Twitch, it wouldn't surprise me, because it seems like people get banned left, right and centre for the daftest things nowadays. No nudity in Cyberpunk is very real. He's like 19 or 22, right? We haven't put an age on Nigel yet, actually, but he's got to be old enough to romance. So we don't have an age. Age is something to consider potentially with characters, especially when we get to the late fall NPC development part of the streams, because right now the focus is mainly getting main quest 1 and 2 smoothed out, and of course we'll be getting the battles polished just before we release the build. We'll be looking at that too. But once I'm happy and I feel like all that stuff is done, we can really start to consider the NPCs a bit more thoroughly as well, because for the next playable build that comes after, like I said, I'm going to want to introduce them all to the village and populate it and fill it and bring it to life. But yeah, that was old Nigel when he was the small chibi character, and now he's taller and he looks much older, doesn't he? He looks more like an adult now, and I think more husbando material for you, Zexy, or anyone else that wants to. Why am I assuming Zexy's going to romance Nigel? Zexy totally might not be interested. I mean, and he certainly looks very dapper. He does. I think he's husbando material. And I just want to make sure I'm legally allowed to call him Hekinoff. So you will romance him then, Zexy. See, I assumed, and then I felt bad because I was like, I shouldn't assume. But then you said you thought he was. So yeah, I assume you will now. My gut instinct was correct. But I'm sorry, ladies, you can't romance Nigel. He's for guys only. So yes. But there will be plenty of opportunities for ladies to romance other NPCs. There's going to be plenty of choice, but we want to have diversity and lots of different characters and all that. So, and just want to make sure I've already read that bit. No romance, just repetitive one night stands, and maybe I'll make him pancakes the morning after. Yeah, he's going to be an interesting one to develop now, because he's now we've said he's going to be a romance option. He's become such more of a deeper character all of a sudden. Even though he's only the one night stand romance, he's still become far more interesting than he was initially. So yes, that was old Nigel. Now Fiona, guys, because Fiona I have changed over a little bit, which I'll go over in a sec. She still very much gives off the Fiona vibes, but I changed her hair because I wanted it to be a bit more spunky. Spunky's the word I think I was after there. Because she was a little bit overly girly before with the pretty bangs. So I want her to be more of a spunky little girl in a contrast to Nigel. So here, let's get her up. Here she is. So let's get the older. So that was First of all, I changed the hair because she originally had that hairstyle, with the bangs and slightly longer hair, and then I changed it to the shorter, the bob haircut. And she just looks a ton more spunky now with her new face. Because I gave her the slanted eyebrows. If anyone's seen Fiona's avatar, which isn't on the Law Bible yet because she doesn't have a profile, but it is on some of the screenshots from the trailer. She has that real fierce look about her. Her eyebrows kind of go downwards a touch, like the opposite of how Nigel's go, basically. Nigel's go upwards and Fiona's go downwards, so she suddenly looks a hell of a lot more fierce, and I like it. She's more convincing now, and she fits that role of that badass little girl, I feel, better than she did originally. So other than that, she's pretty much the same hair colour, same eye colour, same clothes, and obviously she's still a small sprite, and that's because she's a child, so of course she has remained the same size to what she was originally. So I want to see the brother and sister together, if I'm honest, because I wanted to make sure that they looked good as a brother and sister, and what I like about them both, let's get Nigel up first. What I like about them now, especially now they've had a bit of a glow up, is that they contrast each other well. They are literally polar opposites with their vibe and personality they give off. Because you've got the nervous, timid older brother, and you've got the fearsome, spunky little sister, right? So I think they're cool. I like them. So yes, that was something I wanted to show off before we started the next bit of dialogue, because their sprites had been needing updating since we did the new tall sprites. And they don't have an entry in the Law Bible just yet, but they will eventually when we make the other full NPCs, probably. And there's going to be many more. For whatever it's worth, I approve. Yeah, I don't know about you guys. I mean, some people might have fell in love with her before when she looked like this, for all I know. I mean, she was cute for sure. But I personally love the new look Fiona. I just think it's more convincing for her personality that we've built for her now. She looks like a girly girl here. We can always make a girly girl NPC, another one, because Lightfall's going to be full of children. Carol's backstory, her tragic backstory, revolves around kids playing with the barrels, so there's going to be more children in this village anyway. Yay! Okay, so I dig it. Looks strong-willed and adventurous. Yeah, there's a real difference between. Let's get the short-haired one because it's closer to what she looked like. And I'm really glad I spent those few streams reworking the faces, because it just, I never expected it to, because it's just such a small area of the character, but the eyes and the eyebrows just made such a huge difference to everybody when we did them. And they look much more like their avatars now as well. Well, the goal was to make their eyes look closer to the avatars than what they were originally. I like it as well. Hi, Dark. Yeah, I think I love her. Everybody, as a character. I think she's like a really cool, spunky little girl. bit like an Arya Stark. Actually, now I'm thinking about it. Kids are always responsible for tragic backstory, yeah. Who knows if Fiona was involved in all that. In fact, Lakefall is going to have a more girly girl. I've just realised now. Because when we had that stream regarding Carol's backstory, we also, Vanderly, I thought up a really it made me smile, a story for Meryl. And how she had the lipstick and bra put on her and stuff, and a little girl did it. We're gonna have it so a little girl found Meryl as just a bare barrel, and she put the bra on her and the lipstick and made her look all pretty, and we liked that because it shows the cute and wholesome side of the story, because there's a lot of tragic there with the barrels right now, and we wanted to kind of bring in the wholesome side of things as well. But there's going to be plenty of wholesome brought in many aspects with Oliver as well, I'm sure, and maybe even Axel, who knows. But yay, okay, so really glad that we got those guys updated. Let's get the flow diagrams back up. So yeah, they're all in. I've replaced all the sprites in here, new Fiona and new Nigel. Rose has been renamed to Violet everywhere now as well, I believe. Hopefully I haven't missed anywhere. I was very careful with where I looked. So I think every NPC is updated now visually. The only ones that, obviously, the fruits weren't changed, and neither were the barrels, and that's because they're already fine. It was only the human and human-like characters and that we needed to give the overhaul to. What if the girly girl was bullying Fiona and they got into a fight and Fiona pushed the girly girl, causing her to stumble and smash into one of the parent barrels? Yeah, that's an interesting thing too. I mean, we've already sort of set in stone the whole like kids and the festival now. So I don't know whether we should change it to that, because there was something about that flashback with it being all innocent and the kids playing and it all being happy that made it kind of horrifying in a way what happens, because it's that juxtaposition. So I think we kind of like that there was no violence or anything like that happening in that scene, but I do like that, and it's not to say that that can't happen another way with another character, you know. So, and you mean we don't get a 6 foot tall muscle blueberry sprite? Yeah, imagine. Oh my god, a muscly buff blueberry, what on earth? But yeah, I mean, it's going to be very fun to develop the relationships between these NPCs when we do create them, and I'm sure we'll think of all sorts of scenarios that they can get themselves into. But yes, there's going to be many events. Although there's not, I can't think of another barrel character or another character that could fit that sort of role. If we had something like that happen, you never know. Something like that could work somewhere along the way. This episode is going to be full of us feeling sorry for the barrels, and you know, we're going to put loads of things in where they get harmed, I'm sure. Okay, so fruits. Here we go. This is the scene that we've stopped on. We were gonna, just talking about blueberry. We're gonna see him in a sec, and the other fruits too, because that's the scene we're on at the moment. We're gonna get it all in, folks. I mean, as you know, I'm not streaming on Friday, as I said earlier in the stream, but I'll be back on Monday. So what we'll probably do on Monday and the rest of next week is obviously try and finalise all this dialogue. I want us to start scene 5, the scene that comes after this one. So that's why it's kind of good that we're looking over this scene now, because then our minds will be refreshed for scene 5 when we when we write that scene, because that is the scene that we stopped at. We haven't got any further in the story than that, and that's really what's going to conclude main quest 2. So we got to end it with a bang, that's for sure, which we will, because that's the scene where we make the decision on whether we kill the fruits or let them live. So we looked over the rest of the scenes, and I think we were kind of happy with how they were worded, really, but I might briefly go over each scene next week once we finish main quest 5. Make sure, because we did say about this scene we wanted to make Rose look a little bit more vulnerable and that she was easily captured, so we might add a couple of dialogue box changes now and again. But we'll focus on getting main quest 4 done first. Okay, so we arrive at the heart of Everbloom Forest, and a painter's easel is in the centre. Now this scene's already actually been done and implemented. It was in the trailer, actually, on the main trailer for Raindrop Chronicles that's on the website and on the pinned Twitter tweet. But really we want to get it put into our embedded Lore Bible dialogue tray, and we want to go over it, make sure it's all good, and remind ourselves how it all went, because it's been a while since we last reminded ourselves what happened in this scene. And so she sees the easel. Okay, so that's as far as we went. I'm gonna get, because I've got all the dialogue box notes from the fruit scene in another file. I think it's this one. So I'm gonna open that. I'm gonna put it on my other monitor, so it's gonna be easier to get converted over. Okay. Yeah, this is the one. Okay, this is a pretty long scene, guys. In fact, this is the longest scene so far in the game. So I'm looking forward to getting this in. It'll probably take a bit of time, but it's going to be fun chatting about the fruits as we do it. We'll chat about who they are as characters and if we're happy with the dialogue and if it all makes sense and everything flies and works. Because overall I was pretty happy with the scene, but who knows, we might be like, hang on a minute, that might need a slight rework. And this is dialogue for main quest 2, right? That's not supposed to be on the Lore Bible because of spoilers. Well, it will be on the Lore Bible. Everything's going on the Lore Bible, guys. And I know that there's always the risk of spoilers with things like this, but with it being a community project that I stream to everybody, there will be things that I keep secret though. There will be things that I don't even reveal, because I think it'll be nice to keep some things under wraps so it is a surprise. But anything that I decide to not tell you guys, I'm never going to speak about or show on stream at all. Anything that I'm willing to be unspoiled, I'll just get up the dialogue tree and just show it like we have, because the scene with the fruits has been made public for a while, and I released I released the scene in the scene discussion channel, actually. Yes, I did. It's up here somewhere. Both the flashback scene and the fruit scenes are, actually. I don't know why they're buffering at the moment, but they're there. So yeah, they've been public for a while, so anyone who's looked into it knows what happens in these scenes. But yeah, in regards to spoilers, expect some things to not be completely revealed. For example, let me just give an example. When it comes to the final quest in Lakefall, when we have the invasion of the reptiles, and there will no doubt be some NPCs that will die, probably based on decisions you've made. The same one might not die in every playthrough. It would depend on different choices. So if we had a stream where we're like, okay guys, vote on the character that you think should die when the reptiles invade, vote on which human characters you think should die, and we'd have a poll or something, and we'd look, and I'd say, and I might not tell you guys how many I'm gonna, and some of it might be a shock, and I'll keep it under wraps, and you won't find out until you actually play. So if it, for anything like that, if I'm like, I'm not going to tell you who's going to die, for example, I'll not even add it to the lore Bible. Like, I'd have it hidden or something. I'm not sure how I'd hide it, but I'd figure out a way. Put a big black box in front of it or something. Just get a black box and cover up any scenes that I want to keep unspoiled. But it's very hard to do that, because a lot of it's so community driven and very chatty and discussion based streams, character built streams, that a lot of it just comes out because we have to, but some things I'll keep purposely under guard. Hi Rex, how you doing? It's good to see you. I hope you're having a good Friday, Carlos Hanson. And no, I'm asking if it's supposed to be on right now. Where are we? No, this is fine. This is meant to be up now. Where is sexy? I've been rambling on about all these spoiler things just from that simple thing you've said. What am I like? Because on the lore Bible, the dialogue tree section for main quest 2 says error loaded, it doesn't exist or you don't have access, and I was just checking if it's supposed to be. Oh, okay, let's see what's going on there. But yes, just expect the majority of the story to be exposed. Because of the nature of the project, that's just how it's got to be. But for excitement value and to keep you guys excited and hyped and intrigued, having some stuff, spoiler, unrevealed is also exciting too. Okay, so I'm on the lore Bible now and I'm having a peek, seeing what's going on. Okay, so for me, let me get it up. I don't know. For me, I've got main quest 2 up here, and it has come up. So I would be curious if it's like this for everybody but me. Maybe it's only me who can see this because I'm the creator. So I'm gonna put this in chat. If anybody who's hanging about wanted to click on that, let me know if it shows up for you or if it comes up saying error loading, because I want to know if perhaps it's an error for all of you guys but only visible to me as the one that's the owner. Thank you everyone, and I'll take a screenshot and post in Discord for you to look at later. Awesome, Zexy. Checked, it doesn't. Oh, it doesn't show up for you. Is it an error? It says authorized via Google Drive. Because the reason it comes up for me automatically is because obviously I'm logged in to Google Drive, so that's why. But I'm curious how long it's been like this for you. What if it's been like this the whole time? Has anyone been following these, the streams, and it's worked fine? Maybe this whole embedded thing doesn't even work and I've not known it. Mine is giving me that too. And the permissions want to be able to download all your files. Yeah, I can't. Nobody can hack the system or anything because Zava tested that back when we embedded it. Zava literally went in to edit these files and messed them all up, but it didn't work because you can't do that. But it all got checked and it worked back then for sure. So I don't know what's going on. Try testing a private mail browser tab. Yeah, I'm gonna go incognito and look then. So now it does say authorized via Google Drive, but I assume that's just because you've got to log in, folks. But as long as it's not saying error, but I think that's how it's always been, right? You've always had to log in. Just what it shouldn't be doing is coming up with error, though. That's really what it shouldn't be doing. Damn, it's making me blooming verify everything. Because I'm incognito. So I've got to verify my phone now. The main quest one works fine, and that's the one I follow along with because that's what we mostly talk about in the streams I'm around for. Right, so does if the main quest one works fine, that's good. Obviously something just went wrong when it came to embedded main quest 2, if that's the case then. So that's put me at ease somewhat, because then we know if that's the case, it's not completely broken if it works for main quest 1. It's just, what it probably is the URL is probably wrong for main quest 2. Maybe I embedded the URL wrong and I'll have to just redo it if that's the case. Yeah, this page isn't working. It's come up for me as well, incognito. Okay, so I am going to have to go on World Anvil and we'll see what's wrong with this embed if this is the case. And thanks for checking, folks. And I just didn't want to do that if you were trying to keep it secret. Imagine if I was. You guys can't look. It's all secret. But yeah. I'm like I said, spoilers. I'll keep things hidden, but it'll be minimal stuff that I keep hidden. I'm totally cool with revealing main quest 2 to you. If anything's going to be kept secret in this episode, it's going to be the juicy cliffhanger ending or something. Oh my gosh, I've got such a rumbly stomach. I don't even know where I'm looking here. Was it under? Yeah, I think it was under stat blocks. So let's look at the difference with main quest 1 and 2. We might be able to figure out what's up. Right. It's not even the full link. That's why. I assume that's what's up here. Let's get the long one up then. So embed, hey, iframe, create, and what do we have to post? So the HTTP section up until probably all that, I'd say. That's strange. If the diagram is not a public, a Google account is required to view the link. Share. Bloody technical things, right? How dare it interrupt us while we were trying to write the dialogue? I don't even remember how I did this now for the first main quest. It's very confusing, all this is. But as you can see, the link is just way longer for the first. So I'm assuming that that's what's gone wrong with the second, because it's a super short link and wasn't put in fully as it should be. Sorry, did me... Oh no, it's a good job you said, because if you didn't, it'd be like that forever and we wouldn't even know. And then you guys wouldn't have been able to follow along. So it is a good job you said, Zach. So it'd be disaster if we didn't know. But at least this way we can get it fixed for next time, and we'll get it all. We'll jump right into it next time. Let's see if we can fix it. I don't understand why it's been a pain to... Yeah, it's public. Oh, okay, this is it. I don't know why the link came up as super short before then. Because the first time I did it, it was like it's super short, and now it's finally given us the long one. Seems like it's just a bit temperamental then. Sometimes it gives a long link and sometimes it gives a short, but now I know. I'll always know from now on that the link has to somewhat look like this and be super long. And then it should work. So I'm assuming it's fixed it, but we don't know for sure. Let's have a look. Yeah, it doesn't even exist now, so we haven't fixed it yet. What have we done wrong? I thought I copied and pasted everything as it should. Everything in the... This is what I mean, like tech issues pop up all the time. I feel like that's what is always most the like game development life, fixing, sorting things out. It's how it always is. Bit more than actually doing it. Okay, so now it's appeared. And that didn't, I think it's a Draw AI side issue, not a World Downfall side issue, yeah. But what it definitely gave us the wrong link, I think, because definitely when we compared the two, the links were very different from each other. So I'm assuming it is that, and it's come up for me now, but I'm going to have to check in my incognito unless... if you guys want to refresh again, let me know. Oh, is it? So it was that then? Okay. That's a relief. That means it wasn't too much of a hassle. It only took a few minutes to fix, which is nice. It's always a relief when there's a bug and it can be solved in 5 minutes. Such a good feeling. And hi baby, how you doing? Welcome to the stream. You like my outfit? Yeah, it's a pretty cool dress. Very Wednesday Addams, but I didn't do it on purpose. I just happen to look like this. It's working for me now too. Huzzah! Huzzah, everybody! So that means we can do a bit. I thought that this would take the rest of the stream, but we can actually do it. We can actually start now, everybody. So if you want to follow on the Law Bible, feel free to, as we do this, everybody. I did initially think that we'd get this scene in today by the end of stream. The goal was to get the scene 4 done and dusted and put in, which we haven't done because we ended up talking about the romance system all stream, but it's fun, so can you blame us? Talking about that, get carried away. But you know, I've kind of given myself until like next week's streams to sort of finish the dialogue stuff anyway. Yay, GG! Yay. Okay. And then the next task after the dialogue, when the dialogue stuff's all done, like that's dialogue stuff here. And then we can tick scene 4 and 5 off when it's up. We'll be literally doing the scenes for them. So we'll 100% make sure that we like what's going on here. But, you know, it doesn't matter if it's not like 100% perfect, because when the first bubble builds out, we can still change it. Because I'll do a form. I'll make a form and I'll be like, what do you think sounds, you know, who was your favourite character? What did you think of the story side of things? And any feedback from that will guide me on if there's any necessary things to change. But I think as a starting point for the first build, I think we're almost there with what we've got here. But like I said, there's a couple of edits because we need to have Fiona say a couple of extra things. And doing the scenes is much easier once you've already planned all the dialogue out, because it's all about just copying it all in the RPG Maker editor then and doing all the animations and movement around it. Okay. And have you guys seen the new updated spunky looking Fiona Buckington? Anybody who's just coming into stream? And Nigel, have you guys seen Husbando Nigel? Zex's Husbando. He's tall now. I'm rambling on. Let's get the dialogue in. Let's get to work. Hi Timmy, how are you doing? Good to see you. Okay, so she'll look. When we said the looks angry dialogue, that's what sparked us into talking about Rose's anger and whether she should reveal it, because we've changed her as a character now. Why have I said Rose? Her name's Violet now. Expect me to call her Rose for the next 6 months until Violet finally sticks. Okay, so we definitely will have her have a certain facial expression at Carol's demands, but it probably won't be an angry face. I'm kind of trying to think with Violet's character that she's going to be like this. We've said she's not a violent person, but a hunger for blood will sometimes send her into a frenzy. However, as a people pleaser who longs to be accepted, she tries her best to fight this. So overall, she's passive and a lot more. She's not really an angry person. So we get her facial expressions will border more along being giving off the fact that she's this kind of person. But you know, because she's a vampire and because now and again she does get aggressive, it's because that's why. It's out of her control, basically. She's trying to fight it. She doesn't want to be that way, but sometimes she is. And she doesn't have any control. Okay, and Zex's husbando, he's tall now. Yes, I have monopoly on tall boys. They're all mine. Rose has spoken. Her word is the law. Do Do you think that he's more romanceable now he's had the sprite update? I think in general the taller sprites are all more romanceable for you guys, because when they're all small they look like kids, so it can be, and although that's the game style by default when they were short, they are like kids, that's a fact. So I feel like they're definitely more romanceable now, so you can't have them all. But you can have them all in other playthroughs. But that, I like it, you know, doesn't that make it good that you have to, you know, really think about who you're going to choose, because you know you can't just have them all, and you have to, you know, it's going to be a hard decision, but that's what makes it fun. You can have them, I mean, totally. I don't want to kind of limit people that they can't have multiple romances, but those of you that do have multiple romances may also have to be prepared for a potential consequence, like one of them going insane at you for cheating on them, for example, and getting very jealous and maybe doing something bad to you or something, who knows. But I'd say it depends on the level of depth on your relationship. Like if Nigel was just a one night stand, and I doubt that it's gonna have an impact on a future relationship of yours. Which let's treat it like real life as much as possible, you know, because we don't want to make it so rigid, the system, that you've been with that person so you can never be with anyone again, because that isn't real life either. Because in real life people have many relationships, but they usually, you know, the relationship is usually over before they start a new one. Otherwise there's consequences. Okay, so instead of looks angry, we're gonna say I'm trying to think of the right emotion here. So from Violet's perspective, she's probably feeling like she's more passive than Carol. She's feeling like she's being demanded to do something, so there's going to be some emotion there. She's not going to just be told to turn around and do it and just do it. She's going to have some sort of feeling, even if it's not anger. She'll be like fear. There'll be fear or something, so looks fearful or looks shocked or something like that maybe. Oh my goodness, Akira, thank you so much for the Prime sub. How are you doing? So good to see you. Look at Tall Boy Legion. Look at him. And thank you for the hype, everybody. Let's give some hype to Legion. How you doing? Called you Legion instead of Akira. If you cheat on Carol, steal your PS5 in real life. See, Carol is an example. If you do start romancing Carol and that relationship, that slow growing love is brewing, she will literally be ruthless if you cheated on her. No way would Carol approve of that. So, you know, that's an example of one character that you'll have real consequences cheating on. I'd say, like I said, any character that falls under that, if you start doing that with other characters and you've already got an NPC that's in that one, expect consequences with that NPC if they were to find out. But you could maybe get away with having no NPCs in that one, but a few in that one maybe. But I don't think an NPC in that one would be happy. You know, so it all depends. You know, it's not black and white, and it's not necessarily going to be a rigid system. There's a lot of layers to it potentially. But I kind of want to, as closely as possible, have it reflect what reality in real life is like. And not have it be a rigid wooden system. So that's kind of how I'm seeing it. It's bad to cheat on your inventory. Yes. Okay, so looks we'll say looks scared for now, but I don't know 100% if scared is the right emotion, but we'll just do it. We'll say a little scared. Because we're making Violet a little bit more vulnerable than she has been originally. She's been quite the angry vampire right now, but we're kind of shaping her to be more of a vulnerable. But yeah, she's definitely got that fierce side that comes out of her, but she doesn't want to. I guess you could see her as a sweet puppy dog in a way. Like she's feral, and it's almost like a puppy, like our puppy's feral, right? They're very like, but almost in a way where you want to protect them. But a character arc could take her in many directions. She could either grow from a puppy dog to a dragon and be very fearsome, or a character arc could take her in another direction altogether. Cat is for fight. What does that mean? What hashtag is that? I'm not clued up. Okay, so the next part. So, looks a little scared, walks up to the easel and starts painting with her own blood. I mean, we got our own blood for now. That's kind of how things are as the stand, because there's no paintings in the area. It's literally just a plain old canvas with no materials. So it would only make sense that as a vampire who has access to that is her only way of painting. But we'll chat about things, because we could, if we felt it made more sense, we could always have the canvases lying around on the ground by the paintings. We did have a branch. Let's get it up, because but I'm not sure if we're going to go ahead with this branch anymore. That's the thing, and that's why I'm willing to alter it if necessary. It all depends. Kind of could go either way for now. Where is it? This one. Let me just remind you guys what this scene's choices were. So here we go. I've put in there other sprites now. Everything's updated. Okay, so meeting the fruit scene. So we had it as a thing where if we killed the fruit, you'd get access to all their colours, but if you spared the fruit, you'd only have red, because they would have run off with all their paints, and that would change whether the painting was full colour or just red, and obviously recognising the person in the painting would be more of a challenge if it wasn't in full colour. So that was the idea behind that, and I thought it was pretty neat, but that would be something we need to discuss, but it's whether it's worth the hard work of implementing that different branch, if it's really going to have consequences that are going to matter in the long run. So that's why I'm kind of like, if we drop that, it won't necessarily hurt, but we'll say we'll get all this seed down first. Things will become clearer as we start main quest 3 and 4 as well, and we'll build the rest around that. Okay, so And I was betting on Wigglytuff, but werewolf. When a old one from Tuscany's kitty community. Yeah, I'm not. If it's a meme or something, I'm rubbish at memes. I know nothing. I live under a rock. Fun fact: when a vampire reaches 45, they evolve into a dragon unless you use a moonstone in them, which they evolve to a well. Yeah, dragon was the first thing that came into my head because I was trying to think of a fearsome creature. So that was the first thing I thought of. Okay, so now we're going to describe when the fruits enter the scene. Which I'll remind you guys that this scene has already been designed by myself. It already exists. It is actually in the scene discussion channel. But, you know, what we're looking at now is reminding ourselves what happens in that scene, getting it into our lore Bible, as well as, you know, seeing if anything needs a go over. So, a basket with 5 fruits inside. Red, yellow, blue, purple and green. Begins to shake. The red fruit turns, opens its eyes and jumps towards Carol. Okay, so this was actually quite an ambitious scene to pull off, funnily enough, because the animation of the fruits jumping out the basket and getting it all set up is not something that's simple enough to, very simple to do in RPG Maker, actually, because animations are a little difficult to set up in that engine. It's one of the flaws and drawbacks with it, but I managed to do it because I always find a way. So tomato, here he goes. Now, it's not letting me select the text, is it? Let's get Tomato's avatar then. Here he is. Here's our edgy tomato boy. Why has he copied and pasted himself all up there, eh? So just as an overview of Tomato, as you can probably tell from the look on his face, he's an edgy teenager. Like, that's basically his stereotype. Very angry, and it's kind of his thing to call people names, use words like stuff, talks in your teen lingo. That was the goal with this character. And luckily, when we made this scene, when we wrote this scene initially, we had some people in chat that were very good with the teen lingo, better than me. So I think it's actually not too bad. And I want to make profiles of the fruits eventually as well, and get in their most common phrases as well. Just very briefly, because they're not characters that are going to be very key in the whole saga. It's not like we have to really make sure they're written just right, but they will potentially appear again after this scene, so we do have to get the profile somewhat there for next time. We know, so we remember what they were like. Teen lingo, how do you do, fellow yous? That's so Nigel. That's Nigel. That is sexy. And guess what? Nigel has a history with the fruits. the rumours are that Nigel Buckington and his sister Fiona have a history with the fruits, because that's how they knew about the monster in the forest for Rose to be sacrificed. Because Fiona, one thing that she says, let's remind ourselves, Fiona's last dialogue when she gives you this quest is, take Violet to the heart of the Everbloom forest and feed Violet to the monster living there. How does Violet know about the monster? That's the question. And that should be changed to monsters, actually, right? Originally it was just monster, the dialogue, and that was because at the time that scene was written, we only thought it was going to be one fruit, but then we decided to expand it into a fruit army because it was just perfect, and we got them, all of them done. So Fiona knows about them, and there's a rumour, there's all sorts of potential backstory there, and there's a few things we've already discussed of how it could have gone, but we're definitely going to flesh it out even more when we have some NPC backstory streams. Nigel could have been getting bullied by the fruits, maybe, and there's rumours are that the fruits basket actually belongs to Nigel. So there's all sorts of gossip. I've actually got some community notes of thoughts on how Nigel and Fiona can be linked to the fruits, and I know that it got talked about in the Ideas discussion channel as well. I remember Zexy saying something about there being a trade with Fiona and the fruit, and it was all very fun stuff, and I think there'll be a very good time to chat about that more, because especially when we work on main quest 3, because we'll be going back to Lakefall and we'll start understanding things more then when we hand in the quest to Fiona, and we tell her how it went, and we'll figure out more, we'll find out more things then, because there's going to be a reaction from Fiona whether you killed the fruits or kept them alive, and whether you let Rose into Lakefall or not, because you'll also have the choice of whether you want to hide Violet, or let her just walk in there, because Fiona's going to think she's dead, that you'd have sacrificed her. So there's all sorts of variables in how things could go. Vagabond, how are you doing? Thank you so much for the raid, I appreciate it. Shout out to Vagabond, and I am going on a bit longer today on stream. I'm on a bit after 6, surprisingly. Well, not surprisingly, because I have been on a bit after 6 a lot lately, but it's mainly because I've been starting stream quite a bit later recently, and especially today as well, because I had the blue screen problems which delayed me, so I'm going over time a bit. How was your stream? How was Bug Snacks, Vagabond? Was it fun? And is skateboard an instrument? Before I give any thoughts on All Colours versus Red, I want to double check the picture is going to be taken back to Lakefall and shown around, and the townsfolk are going to then direct the player to the lizards. Yes. So that's basically how it's going to go. And at the time, when we had the variations in the painting, whether it was going to be full colour or not, it was quite an interesting concept, because again, more variables is always fun, and we had it there as a reason for it to be a challenge to figure out who was the right reptile, like, because obviously if it's not in full colour, it's harder to identify them. But ultimately, I think, is it really, because the reptile's features, the spikes on his head, the way they are, it's still, even in the red only painting, pretty easy to recognise which reptile it's going to be, because he's still going to have a unique look compared to some of the other reptiles in the case. So it was simply thinking, is it worth it to have that extra branch and spend time doing those extra paths for it to be a choice that doesn't really end up mattering too much? I'd only want to keep it if it really added real weight and changes to that segment of the story, which is why I'm keeping it open right now, we might keep it if we think, oh gosh, that's perfect. We gotta have it because of that. Or if it turns out that it's like, well, actually, there's not really much difference between these two branches, and the changes don't seem significant enough, then it would make more sense to cut it, I guess. So it all depends on how we shape the next couple of main quests, maybe, or the story outline, because we'll be doing an outline before we jump in deep to the main quest 3 dialogue and main quest 4 dialogue. We'll at least do a rough skeleton outline of what's going to happen in those quests, so we'll have an idea before we even begin the dialogue if it's going to be worthwhile or not to have that choice. And can't wait to talk to the devs tomorrow night. Awesome, that sounds super cool. It's a weird game. How's your dev stuff going, Vagabond, as well? Are we getting a Karen Simulator remastered? Yeah, full VR support. Hi Alice, how are you doing? Are you excited for Cyberpunk, Alice? Made me think of you. Very cool. Yeah, we were talking about Unity, and I mentioned you. I says Vagabond is doing an RPG in Unity now. I think you said it was Unity anyway, because someone asked if I was using Unity, and I was like, no, only the pros can use Unity. I mean, no hate on myself, I'm awesome, but I know my strengths as well. So and I've been working off stream for a bit, finishing some final surprises for the Vagabond Dog holiday pack this year. Oh, that sounds fun. Yeah. What's going to be in the holiday pack? Tell us. Okay, so I think what we'll do here is, instead of have the description of the red fruit tomatoes movement in that box, we'll switch it to this box and put it in italics in grey colour like we have been. Turns, opens eyes, jumps towards Carol. Because when we wrote the dialogue previously, I didn't really consider like actions and movement that much. It was all just talking heads. So I like that we're thinking about it. But sometimes you have to actually do the scene to know what's going to be the best movement and actions. So sometimes we're not always going to know, and sometimes we might keep it vague, which is okay if we want to. So only when you implement something, sometimes you think, oh, that works or that doesn't work. Okay, now Carol's reaction. So this scene is really a scene where we get to know these new antagonists in the game. We get to learn about them as characters, their differences, and we also learn about the threat and why they're a danger. Because this does lead into the first boss fight of the game, and we're gonna find out. Well, there's a reason why we're fighting them. We don't just fight them for the fun of it. So it's gonna lead into that fight, all this, and it's gonna come. This scene's gonna come back to haunt the player potentially at the end of the game. It's not like an insignificant scene just for funsies. The holiday pack is a surprise of bundle of games, merch and other cool stuff that we make available on our site. Can't say what's in it, but there's a ton of goodies in the last year's bundle. Awesome. Well, I'm excited. That sounds tons of fun. And you're good. I'm glad, Alice. I'm jealous of all the people playing Cyberpunk on Twitch right now, and we can't play it, Alice. I'll tell you that. So Carol says, in response to Tomato, yeah, the goal with Tomato was for him to sound like an edgy teen. That's kind of his thing. Every fruit's different. Every fruit is got a different sort of personality. Which we'll see, because in this scene they all jump out one at a time. We get to meet one fruit at a time rather than all at once. But it doesn't take long for the others to pop out. Lemon pops out straight after Carol says what she has to. I'll tell you what though, this scene is full of puns and little light-hearted insults. I think my dinner might be ready soon. Damn it, I don't want to stop streaming. I want to stop. But I can't just get down, rush my dinner and come back up, unfortunately, because there's other stuff I have to do always after dinner most times. So, yeah. My capture card arrives, so fingers crossed I might be streaming Cyberpunk tomorrow. Isn't that super fun? Super fun times. Have you decided what life path you're gonna go for? So Carol's a Sundayer, folks. She'll always rip anyone to pieces who dares to insult her. You know, this was just, she was never gonna take this comment lightly. That's for sure. So next thing that happens is Lemon appears. And he does the same action. He turns, opens his eyes and jumps towards Carol the same way Tomato did. So spelled trespassing wrong. So let's get Lemon's character in here so you can see what he's like in comparison to Tomato. So, very different to Tomato. He's the daddy of the group, basically. He's your typical war veteran. Well, not literally, but he's been battered about a bit. He's an older fruit. He has a scar across his face, and he's the sort of fellow that just has no messing. And his sentences are very short. He's not exactly the most expressive, but he's firm. Just like your typical badass old guy, really. That's who Lemon is. So his threats are a lot more you know, Tomato just go all in, bullet a gate with his insults. He's just a kid, very foolish, aggressive. Lemon's more, his insults are actually a lot more witty, probably, than what the other fruits would be like. Because yeah, Carol could totally be turned into an easel. She's made out of wood, and there's an easel in the right in front of them. So that was a good one. That was. And yeah, Lemon actually, if anyone was gonna do that, it would be Lemon. He'd be good at the DIY for sure. He's a hands-on type of guy. If he lived in Lakefall, he'd be the blacksmith. For sure. Stream forever, we can't survive without you. Bless you, Alice. Cyberpunk has been interesting today, so you will probably enjoy it. I think I was always going to enjoy it because, like, the previous game that dev team made, The Witcher 3, was like like, I'm obsessed with it. It's better than any other RPG I've played for a long time. I just really liked what they did with that game. So it would have surprised me if I was going to play Cyberpunk and not like it, because it's the same team, and you know, they very carefully craft their RPGs, and I really respect their approach. Not really sure about life path. I'm going to be a corpo. That's what I'm going to be. I'm going to ruin those capitalists and tear them apart, and they won't even know it. I'm going to be there. I'm going to be a mole. It's been a long time in the making. Yeah. Okay, so Carol doesn't react quite yet. She oh, actually she does she? She does say something. Damn it, I'm gonna have to open RPG Make, because this isn't in my notes what she says here. But I know I made an edit, so let's just get the Carol dialogue in. But yeah, we've only introduced tomato and lemon so far, but the other three fruits come out and have a little say in a sec as well. I'm going to just remind myself what Carol said in this scene. Okay, so she says, she's probably a little bit more intimidated by Lemon. Okay, so Blueberry's the next one that appears. But here, how does he appear? Oh, actually, this was I split Lemon's two dialogues up. What I did was have him say that and then say the trespassing thing afterwards. So when I was doing the scene work, I sort of realised that it was good to break things up a bit rather than just have Lemon give too much text at once, because you kind of, I find with scenes as you do them, especially if there's a lot of dialogue to get through in a scene, you've got to break the pacing up. I find that can be quite helpful. You don't just want masses of text coming through, and you know, you want to break it up with movement and all sorts of things. My mileage, he's looking sharp. Never saw him this close. Yeah, he's had a glow up. He's all the NPCs and player characters and everyone, all the community characters of. And the NPCs, Nigel and Fiona have now as well. They've all had glow ups. They're all taller now, and they've got far more expression on their faces compared to what they were like now. We've given them more character. Okay, so now if you turn it, so she gets a bit threatened by that threat. Well, a little bit concerned, but he interrupts Carol, doesn't let her really continue what she's saying. He's very straight to the point. And the thing about this scene, it interrupts what they're doing, because Carol was probably very happy when she managed to get Violet to do what she wanted, and she gets to see this painting that she's been wanting to see. But how irritating for Carol to have that interrupted. So obviously, one thing I should actually put here is that Rose stops painting. Because there's a lot of stuff happening in this scene. Like Violet, I keep calling her Rose. I'm going to be calling her both Violet and Rose for a long time. Violet and you will both obviously face the fruits when this is happening as well. So, and there's a like reactions, body language from them as well. So obviously Rose isn't continuing this painting as all this is happening. She'll stop and look at what's going on. And I haven't put that because it's such a subtle little thing, but basically that's what's happening. Okay, so let me just remind myself what the next bit is. So Carol will obviously defend herself. So obviously, if you guys have any thoughts about this scene as we do, feel free to pop up and say if you think that Carol's acting out of character or anything like that, feel free to say. I think she's, you know, we've analysed this pretty thoroughly, and we figured that she's a defensive person. We should probably have a profile card up while we write all this and make sure that she's consistent. But I think it's very likely that Carol would want to blame somebody else, Rose, for example, in this situation, because she could definitely easily do that. At the end of the day, it's Rose who's the one who's doing the painting, not Carol. So, Lemon's a cool guy. He's a cool fruit, should I say, not a cool guy. He didn't really raise his voice, I couldn't imagine him. Okay, now Blueberry comes now and he basically agrees with Lemon. So everyone's kind of ganging up on Carol here, really. But the other fruits end up coming first, Blueberry, then Plum. And Plum's the one that notices Violet and recognises that she's what they need, the one that needs to be sacrificed. And that kind of distracts them a bit, and everything just escalates from that point. So if anybody actually wants to see the scene in full, and if you're super curious, you can always go in the scene discussion channel and see the whole scene when we made it. And yeah, I wouldn't say it's 100% perfect. There was a couple of suggestions suggested that I very much agreed with, that particularly with the last line of dialogue. So there might be a couple of things that are altered compared to that, how it is there. But we'll be carrying on with this on Monday, because I'm not streaming Friday, as a reminder, guys, because Cyberpunk. And I'm treating myself to a weekend. But I'll be back Monday, and we'll be carrying on with this as well, and going into the following scene as well that comes after, because scene 4 and 5, the ones that we haven't yet put into the Lore Bible, are kind of the same scene. Scene 5 follows scene 4. It's just after the fight, that's all. Scene 4 is before the boss fight, and scene 5 is after the boss fight. So we'll finish getting scene 4 in, and then we'll naturally consider scene 5 and what comes after, and then we're done. We're done with main quest 1 and 2 dialogue then. be on to getting it in the scenes, and yeah, lots of fun stuff to do. But I'm happy that I'm being more focused now, and I'm not like, because I was always so tempted to do something different in the early days. I'd be like, okay, battles now, okay, sound effects now, and I never stuck to one thing for long enough, and that's what made it feel like there was just loads of little bits of the project that were so separate from each other that I had to kind of put together, which is, I prefer the new method of doing something first completely and then just building on that instead, rather than just trying to force loads of separate pieces together. So that's why we've been focusing on dialogue for quite a while now, because I want to make sure we're happy with it. It's all in the lore Bible. We've gone over the characters. We're happy. Then we do the scenes. Once we know we're happy with the dialogue, I can do the scenes easy then without having to question the dialogue that's been written. Because otherwise, if we didn't have this point in the stage where we planned all these dialogue lines, the scene time would be even harder, because I'd have to do the thinking while making the scenes what they're going to say. But I much prefer having it all there ready to just copy and paste over, and then the scene work just is much easier once we already have the dialogue and already know what that dialogue's going to be. It's just the making of the scenes, the animating, the pacing, and all that stuff that's the challenge, not actually the dialogue. So thanks for hanging out, guys. It's super awesome to have you here. I am going to have a little peek, see if there is anyone to raid. I am in a rush though, I have to say, because I am leaving it late today. I've never streamed until 6:30 ever. So hopefully I don't get called any second. Okay, I am going to have to go, unfortunately, so I'm in a rush. I'm not surprised, though, because I am leaving it late today. So I'll see you all on Monday. I'll put a reminder up in the Discord, of course, to let you all know that I'm not streaming Friday, just in case you weren't here today. But take care, everyone. Thanks for being fabulous. I appreciate you all. Have a good weekend.